Time now for your business news. The issue of fake doctor's notes has been growing rapidly throughout the country. Now, getting a sick note is sometimes as easy as paying 50 Rand in the streets to get it. Now, in order to reduce the burden on doctors who write numerous sick notes and sometimes fraudulent notes to patients on a daily basis, and for employers to keep track of those sick notes provided by the employees, an innovative young South African company, Leverage Point, has launched its latest innovation. It's called eDoctors Note. It's a web-based application that focuses on changing the way that doctors issue sick notes. We are joined in studio by the Managing Director of Leverage Point, Mr. Duke Propeller. Mr. Duke, very good morning to you and welcome.
Good morning, Elvis, and thank you for having me.
Now, this sounds like a first for South Africa. Is that correct?
Yeah, it's actually a first web solution. It was mainly designed just mainly to address three issues. Fake sick notes, absenteeism, and mainly also bringing back credibility of the doctor's sick note. So maybe just to address it with regards to the fake sick notes, how it works with regards to addressing that. It mainly focuses on the number of days which have been issued, and also verifying the fact that it was issued by a legitimate doctor. And with regards to absenteeism, it addresses that because we actually build a bureau of sick notes for each employee. So in a way that an employer is able to check performance based on the number of sick days taken, versus the number of days which normal industry days are taken by other employees. So and also with regards to the recruitment process, that they can actually do a background check with regards to sick leave and compare it with the number of national average of sick leave. And
so if Elvis is off every Friday, they know there's a problem, because that they can track that on a monthly basis.
Exactly, because what we basically do with that system is that it actually analyzes the information. It can bring information with regards to Elvis is away usually on a Friday, or Elvis is away usually on a Monday. What are the other employees doing in the company? How often are they away? But mainly it focuses on the specific individual.
Now tell me something. Is this maybe the age where the written doctor's note is probably on the wall, so to speak? Excuse the pun.
Yes, we actually, the goal is basically to get to that, where the doctors don't issue the paper sick note. Because the paper sick note's got a lot of issues, because sometimes doctors issue and give you 3 days off. Employees change it to like 8 days, for example. So when the doctor loads it onto the system, we register the doctors and we actually verify the credentials of the doctors, and we issue them with login details. So you know for a fact that this sick note was issued by a doctor, and this number of days were actually issued by a doctor. But obviously, because it's the beginning, what we're doing is that doctors can still obviously issue the sick note on paper, but employees can load that sick note on the system. What our system does now, it verifies the employers can actually capture that information onto the system, and what our system does, it verifies that it was issued by the doctor, and we actually do a validation of the number of days which have been issued.
Now, how do you ensure that only registered doctors would be able to issue these sick notes?
Okay, what we do is that on registration, we've got an online registration for doctors as well, although also we've got business development officers which also go around and see the doctors. But we actually verify their credentials with their organizations, the HPCSA, and we also verify with the South African Medical Association, but mainly with the HPCSA. We are actually in talks for further build up with regards to the system with the South African Medical Association, but the verification is mainly with the HPCSA.
Is the aim then ultimately for eDoctors Note to reduce the paperwork while at the same time enable doctors to have easy access to those patients' history and inquiries if they want to?
Definitely, because right now doctors will have to go through amongst a lot of paper. Because for example, if an employer phones and wants to verify a sick note, he has to go through a lot of files to check whether he issued that sick note. Whereas now it's in a click of a button. He can actually just type in the ID number and see how many sick notes is issued to Elvis, for example.
Now, it also seems that the intention of the eDoctors Note is to frustrate those illegal doctors that is not registered. Is that correct?
Yeah, I wouldn't want to use the word frustrate, but I would want to say change in the mindset. You know, like have them change and do things in the proper. Because if we're looking at it, Mail and Guardian has actually issued a report whereby they saying sick notes which have been issued illegally are costing the country about 18 billion, which is quite a lot of money. And also with the loss with regards to medical aids as well, which we've been engaging with the board of healthcare funders, is that people actually use the medical aid to go and see a doctor if they are not sick, just to get a sick note. So you can imagine how much the cost is with regards to that.
So it's an impact on your company, it's an impact on the economy directly, and the eDoctors note is trying to curb that?
That's definitely what we're trying to do. So it's mainly available to employers, recruitment agencies, and universities. The other part of universities is where students actually avoid going to write an exam because they took a sick leave, or maybe they create their own sick leave, which happens quite a lot in the university.
Because they're very creative students. You know? Yeah. So how can recruitment agencies be helped by this?
This helps them when it comes to doing the background checks of candidates. Because now what they can do now, they've got more information to analyze as to say how productive is this candidate which we interview. So say for example they've got a pile of five candidates. They do the background check of the sick notes, and they see that this one has got about 10 sick notes. National average is sitting at about five days, and the rest of the people are just below the sick note. So you can actually start to gauge based on those analytics what kind of person you will be dealing with.
How do you deal with doctors or registered doctors, for that matter, that are trying to misuse the system? How will that work?
Obviously, the whole idea is to curb, is to start somewhere. But what we can ensure is, what the other part of dealing with the absenteeism enables the other part of the doctor part is that if I know that my record is going to be bad with regards to taking signal, I will more likely than not go and collude with the doctor for an unnecessary signal. So in that part, it does sort of address it. But the main part is that doctors are not necessarily going to be able to abuse it, because we will ensure that the fact that they are registered with their organization. And obviously, any abuse of that system is something which we have agreed with the HPCSA that we will report such things. So it is notified to the doctors as well that if there is an attempt to abuse the system, it will be reported to their organization.
So if Dr. A issues 1,000 sick notes per month, and on average doctors issue 50 sick notes, then there's a problem with that doctor, and the HPCA can obviously investigate that.
Yeah, that's something definitely which can be looked into, but not necessarily, because we're not necessarily saying people are not getting sick, but we're just saying people must just use this, they must take sick leave when they really are sick. Yeah,
have you engaged with the unions in terms of this particular eDoctors note system and the web application in terms, because it affects their employees or their members, so to speak?
We are still in processes of discussions with associations, unions as well. Mm-hmm. The reception is that when unions look at it and saying that if the country can save this kind of money, we can. So if that's where they are looking at it from, there is no problem with eDoctors sick note.
How can employers that want to be part and parcel of the system, because that's important for them, how do they get hold of you, and how do they get how do they engage you?
Okay, it's quite easy. We are engaging directly ourselves with the more blue chip companies, listed companies on a personal level, but even other employers, because this system is available to any employer who employs from one employee to up to whatever number. Mm-hmm. So what they need to do is just log into eDoctors sick note. They sign up. They select how many employees they've got. There's different tiers for each employee, and we will be in touch with them with regards to how to use the system. And obviously the manuals are also provided for them on how to use it. But yeah, they can mainly start off by going into eDoctors sick note, because we've got a demo of how the system works and how it works. So they can actually sign up in there, and we can actually take it from there.
And that that web address is www.edoctorsnote.co.za, is that correct?
Correct.
It's on the screen as well, so if you're interested, you can have a look at that. Mr. Mpela, thank you so much, and I hope that you don't get too much resistance from the employees, because they'll be saying, I can't now get 3 days off, I want my 13 days.
Yeah, no, thanks a lot as well for having me.
Thank you for joining us here. That was Mr. Mpela, Managing Director of Leverage Point. Now, it's a very innovative system, that eDoctors Note. Be on the lookout for it. You can go to their website, www.edoctorsnote.co.